So I haven't really talked about Gordon Hayward this offseason. I remembered that when I was talking about Jalen. So let's dive into Gordon Hayward. Now, the very easy and quick thing to say is simply, if he's healthy and if he's confident, then everything's fixed. And he is going to be that Utah Jazz Hayward again, the 20-point scorer who can play off the ball, on the ball, and just be pretty good at all areas, right? Well, I think it's a little more interesting than just that, because I want to see how much freedom and responsibility he has in the offense right away. Because, I think it's fair to say Stevens was way too lenient with Hayward to begin last season, and you can argue about when he actually finally realized that Gordon wasn't going to be Gordon, but it was longer than like 4 games, definitely. And I think it's safe to say it did create a little bit of a rift within the team. I mean, there's many things that went wrong with the Celtics last season. We all know this, but like, is Stevens just going to do that again? I mean, Brad is the kind of coach where he doesn't like to operate in absolutes. He kind of looks at things in the sense of, I think this can work, and maybe it's not exactly working right now, but I think it eventually will. And does that mean Hayward pick and rolls and Kemba just doesn't have the ball the entire game, and same thing with Tatum and all that? I don't know. I mean, I think Hayward is probably the second best passer on this team. Maybe Marcus Smart's a little better, but I don't know. To be fair, Hayward's assist numbers in that last season with the Jazz was only 3.5 a game, but when you actually watched him, at least in my opinion, he seemed like a guy who could get up to 5 to 6 assists a game, which he did earlier in his career, but at that time he wasn't shooting as much. So I just feel like he was ready to take a jump as a playmaker, and you might be able to argue that we saw signs of that towards the end of last season, at least the regular season, for the Celtics. So I guess that's step one. Like, is Brad just going to really have Hayward doing stuff? I think I would. I mean, this guy's getting paid a lot of money, and it's now been 2 years since the injury. I mean, I don't think you really want to baby him. But I guess there's a fine line, because even though the Celtics have said all the right things in terms of they've moved on from last year, and some would suggest that Kyrie was more of a problem than we even know about, really. And of course, he's gone. I do still think the effects of last season are always going to still be there in these guys' heads. So if Hayward has a lot of responsibility early on and he's just looking kind of okay, and he's like kind of hesitant and the jumper's not falling or whatever, then I don't know, maybe some doubt seeps into everybody. That's definitely me being cynical, but I mean, based on this previous season, I think this team deserves to have some cynicism around it, even if they've made some changes. Another thing will be, it seems like Kemba's probably going to be the main personality on this team. Of course, very different from Kyrie. This has been talked about many times. But I do remember at least one time last season where Kyrie just said, "Yo, Hayward, shoot the damn ball," right? And after that, I think Hayward had one of his better games of the season, and I don't really remember if the games, plural, after that were really anything. But I'm just wondering, will anyone have that moment for Hayward? I feel like it would have to be Kemba, because like if Marcus Smart says it, I mean, I understand Marcus Smart could be like the leader of this team now. But it's different if Kyrie tells you to be more aggressive and Marcus Smart does, right? And so if we're looking for Kemba to be that guy, I mean, I don't know, maybe Kemba's a little too lackadaisical, a little too cool for that sort of thing. Maybe Kemba will step in and just really be like, I'm the leader and all that, but hopefully not go too far in the Kyrie department. All that's going to be interesting, and the reason I'm bringing all that up, the mental stuff, is because, again, we don't know where Gordon Hayward is going to be confidence-wise. And, teammates can influence that in ways. If we get back to on the floor, though, if we look at that last season for the Jazz, where Hayward put up 22 a game, made the All-Star team, all that stuff, he was definitely the leading shot taker of the team. George Hill was second most, but George Hill played 50 games. Rodney Hood was right there with him, but then again, Rodney played 59 games. So Hayward was basically running the show offensively. It's not going to be the same thing here. And I know I just mentioned everything about, how much responsibility Steven's going to give him with pick and rolls and ball handling and stuff. But I think even if there is a bit of an emphasis for that, there's still going to be a lot of Kemba Walker and Tatum things. So as a result, Hayward's going to be off the ball a bit. Which would probably be good for him. I mean, you'd think that the shooting would translate, even if the burst is potentially gone or not what it used to be. We don't know. And, I feel good about Gordon Hayward just jacking up threes. I mean, if he shot 7 to 10 threes a game this season, I think that would be cool. Now, I don't know if he has the mentality to do that, but I think he could totally do it. I mean, he took 5 per game and he shot basically 40% that last year with the Jazz, and his form is good, his free throw shooting has been good his whole career. Like, Gordon Hayward is a legit knockdown guy, so maybe that is how he'll find his place with this team. Maybe it's not as much ball handling and it's more just shooting and moving off the ball. I mean, I don't know. The beauty of Gordon Hayward is that he can kind of just do a little bit of everything, so that's going to make it easier for him to just bounce back from this injury as much as possible. So however he fits into that Brad Stevens offense, which of course is a lot of movement and handoffs and off-ball screens and that kind of thing. We can also talk about Gordon on defense, which I think is a really intriguing part of the Celtics team, because Stevens' defenses have always been either really good or they found a way. And the biggest example of that being like the way he hit Isaiah Thomas. And I mean, how good is Hayward just going to be on that side of the floor? What position is he even going to be defending for one? I don't know for a fact the Celtics starting lineup's going to be. Like, it's probably Kemba, Jalen, Hayward, Tatum, Cantor. But that means somebody's defending power forwards, and is that going to be on Hayward? You're going to want Hayward on the perimeter. I mean, if you're fearful that Hayward's just not going to have the lateral quickness, then yeah, you'd put him on fours, but even then, I mean, you're still going to have responsibility moving around, and a bunch of teams are going to put who is really a small forward at the 4 spot to spread the floor out, and is Hayward just going to be able to play help defense and all that effectively? I mean, I'm trusting his like mental side of defense, and I'm trusting his effort, but it's just like, if you got to just suddenly turn around or something, or close out on a guy at the 3-point line, and you're like 5% slower than you used to be, that's going to be a problem. So all this is very interesting. I think what I would predict for Hayward is something along the lines of 17 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. Defense is solid, but that's it. It's just solid. And overall, he probably leaves like a little bit of a disappointment, but for everybody paying attention, you can see that he's making a very positive contribution to this Celtics team. So I guess that's my Gordon Hayward prediction for you. And the way it goes south is if the way it went south this previous season for him. So, yeah, Gordon Hayward.